passed, how many petrol stations to get here? I passed one that was open and had a line from approximately here to the moon and back. There was one station that was half open, by which I mean they only had diesel, no petrol, and all of the others were closed. But apart from that, everything is going tremendously well. Chaos has descended across the UK's 8,380 petrol stations throughout the past week after an estimated 60% ran dry of fuel over the weekend. So the government leapt into action to do nothing at all but stand open-mouthed, gaping at yet another thing they didn't see coming and have no idea how to fix. How do you rate your performance so far, Bodge? He'll get back to us. What a shower, eh? Ugly scenes unfolded, including knife fights on forecourts. For what? Courts, as panic buying gripped the nation. And this is despite the government saying,
"Do not panic! Do not panic! We are trained professionals!"
Yeah, and the only thing that we heard from that was, panic! London and Bristol were among the worst hit areas as UK roads were gridlocked for the 7th day in a row. Treasury Minister Simon Clarke said that 150 drivers from the army are on standby to help if needed. Great. Things are going so well, we're going to have to get the army to shoot it. On Tuesday, well-known transport expert Grant Shapps urged drivers to resume their usual routines for filling up vehicles and to stop panic buying. The thing is, it's not like toilet rolls, where you can buy 1,000 rolls and keep them in the garage. You can only fill your tank up to the brim, and then you have to stop. So people aren't really buying more than they need, because you can only put so much in a tank. I mean, it's not like people are buying extra cars to fill them up. I mean, there were apparently people filling dustbins and water bottles with petrol, but these people are beyond reaching, being as they are morons. I mean, unless people are filling up, driving 100 yards and then rejoining the queue to put a thimbleful back in, this isn't panic buying, it's a logical reaction to a lack of availability. If you're running low and you pass 10 stations all closed and a mile-long queue to the only one that's open, then what you're supposed to do if you need your car? You can't run on empty, so you're going to have to join a queue. I mean, the government seem to have been spending their time trying to come up with who to blame for this that is not themselves. Well, it's the government's fault that the tanker drivers left after this regime's peculiar type of Brexit that no one voted for. It's the government's fault that the DVLA has a backlog of tests to pass drivers. It's the government's fault that they've just stood by and allowed the country to grind to a halt. What the government has done is to tell local councils around the country not to use the phrases panic or panic buying in reference to the fuel crisis in the hope that that will reduce queues outside petrol stations. If you don't say its name, it will just magically disappear. What did he think that the job was going to entail? All of those years when when Bodger was dreaming of ascending to the top position. What did he think it was going to be? That he was just going to lay prone on a chaise as busty maidens fed him grapes. I expect that's the sort of thing he had in mind. Not all this difficulty. How's it going so far, Bodge?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Badly, I'll assume. Graham texts, so long as I have a plate full of Brussels sprouts and gravy, I'll be happy. Brussels?
Boo!
Freedom sprouts, you mean? Yes, it's going extremely well that we're going to have to bring the army in. Have you heard about this? Good grief. Military tanker drivers are to start... by the way, this information was top secret until 18 minutes ago. Latest with the news. If I had told you about this 19 minutes ago, then I'd probably be looking at special measures from Priti Patel. Embargoed news. Very, very important. Military tanker drivers are to start delivering fuel to forecourts across the country from Monday. Yeah, there's no rush. Just take all the time you need. Almost 200 military personnel are undertaking training at haulier sites. Additional measures will be announced to help ensure the stability of the UK supply chain in the run-up to Christmas. Oh, yeah. How are you going to do that? The government is working with industry to make HGV sector more attractive and to improve conditions. Well, shouldn't you have done that before now? I mean, you've had 11 years in power. What's keeping you? The detail is eye-opening. Almost 200 military tanker personnel, 100 of which are drivers, will be deployed from Monday. So there's 200 of them, only 100 of them are drivers. Is that encouraging?
No.
Are the ones that aren't drivers going to be driving? Or are they just going to be sitting in the cab choosing the radio stations they play? By the way, there was a radio station that just had a birthday in the building, and they had some cake, and it was the colour of something that you don't find in nature. It was like bright purple, and only when it had been delivered to me was I told that it was dairy and gluten-free. Dairy and gluten-free cake.
Disgusting.
What's left? I mean, how can you have a cake that's dairy and you might as well say dairy-free milk? It's not milk, that stuff. That alternative milk stuff isn't milk. You can call it milk as much as you like, but it's not milk. Not actual real-life cow juice. 200 military tanker personnel, only a half of which are actually drivers, are going to be deployed from Monday. So that's 100 tankers to serve over 8,000 petrol stations. Excellent job, Bodge. You're doing tremendously well. As soon as you come up with another great idea, you let us know straight away. All right. I haven't actually read through this yet, but it's chock full of information. 300 fuel drivers. I'll just go for the things that are highlighted as bullet points, because presumably they're the bits that they want us to concentrate on. 300 fuel drivers who will be able to arrive immediately, brackets, subject to immigration checks. No, okay, I'll start a little bit back from that and see what the context is. We must always appreciate the context. So here we go. A wide range of thank goodness.
Fabulous.
A wide range of measures the government is taking to ease temporary supply chain pressures in food. I think that cake has damaged my ability to think. I mean, seriously, what can make a cake purple? Whatever it is, it can't be good. This comes alongside a range of measures, everything that I've just talked about, bringing the army in to shoot the problem. If in doubt, just start blasting away. It comes alongside a range of measures the government is taking to ease the temporary supply chain pressures in food haulage industries brought on by the pandemic and the global economy rebounding around the world. Yeah, I think you're missing the B word. This is from James, you know James Fowler, don't you?
No!
Yes, that's him, Cabinet Press Office. James Fowler from the Cabinet Press Office. Blaming everything but the thing that is the most important part, Brexit. He said, in these exceptional circumstances, the Home Office is allowing a number of fuel haulage drivers to work in the UK immediately, as in right now. Hauliers will find licensed drivers to recruit and will submit applications to the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, which will endorse applicants with the necessary license and a contract to work as a fuel driver. Okay, there's a big problem here. You've got to actually get people who want to come here. You know all the drivers that we're trying to attract now? They're the ones that have been yelling at for 5 years to go back to where you came from. And now they've left. We find that we really, really need them. Project Fear was Project Fact all along. All those Ramonas telling us that, things weren't going to go great. Turns out they were completely correct in every respect. And so, all of those people that were saying, we don't want your sort round here, get rid of it. So they did. And now we're now we're saying, why did you go? It's just them being mean to us. So they're going to issue these visas in the expectation that foreigners are going to be queuing around the country in order to get back in, just desperate to help us out. I mean, the arrogance of it is just staggering, isn't it? All they have to do is just chuck these visas on the ground and people will scramble to pick one up. So desperate is the world to help Great Britain. Apart from anything else, we got a problem right now. I mean, the various industries have been talking about this catastrophe is unfolding for months now. They've been yelling about Christmas for ages. And just as you would expect, just at the moment when it's too late to do anything properly about it, the government leaps into action and does not much. 300 fuel tanker drivers may come to the UK, a bespoke scheme allowing up to 300 fuel tanker drivers to the UK on a temporary basis. Yes, uproot yourselves for a brief period to come and help out the people that have been screaming at you to go back to where you came from for 5 years. And then, at the end of that period, at a moment of our choosing, we'll tell you to get out again. Please form an orderly queue. This forms part of the temporary immigration arrangements announced last week to help provide short-term relief for the food and fuel industries and ensure the stability of the UK supply chain in the run-up to Christmas. These time-limited measures will facilitate the recruitment of the following cohorts over the coming days and weeks, and I sincerely hope that you are in this list of cohorts. 300 fuel drivers who will be able to arrive immediately, subject to immigration checks and endorsements from BEIS, Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, who presumably are all working from home, and they'll get to it later. They'll put it at the bottom of the queue. There's 4,700 food haulage drivers who will arrive from late October and leave by the 28th of February. No, they won't. That's assuming that people want to come here. Who will arrive? Why, you got a queue, have you? 5,500 poultry workers. They're going to arrive. They will arrive from late October and be able to stay up to the 31st of December. Is this a comedy routine? What are these people talking about? 5,500 poultry workers who will arrive. Or what? We're going to go and kidnap them. It says the introduction of these temporary time-limited visa measures does not detract from our commitment to upskill and increase the wages of our domestic labour. Blah, blah, blah. I'll quote Greta. And then there's comments from various people, the usual suspects. Steve Barclay, Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, said, "Pah!" He said the government has taken decisive action. The government has taken decisive action. Okay, I need read no further. I wonder what Defence Secretary Ben Wallace says. He said across the weekend, over 200 military personnel will have been mobilised as part of Operation Escalin. Escalin? Operation Mescaline might have been a better description. Is this real life or am I hallucinating?
Yowza.
He says, while the situation is stabilising, our armed forces are there to fill in any critical vacancies. A situation is not stabilising if you have to call out the army to fix it. Business Secretary Kwesi Kwarteng said, thanks to the immense efforts of industry over the past week, we are seeing continued signs that the situation at the pumps is slowly improving. Continued signs that the situation is slowly improving. Not to my eyes. I mean, not if you're actually in need of petrol. But, apart from that. The shops are open. You can get crisps and cola. If He says it's important to stress there is no national shortage of fuel in the UK. It doesn't make never mind. There's no worldwide shortage of fuel either. But if you can't actually get it, it doesn't make any difference whether there's an actual shortage. There's a shortage in your car. I mean, is there another country on Earth that's being run this badly? I mean, I'm just curious. Name me one. I double dare you. Ricky tweets, "Hey, Ricky, you're so fine, you blow my mind." Hey, Ricky. Ricky tweets, "Nick, are you going to apply to join the British space race that Bodger announced was going to start next year? You could be LBC's Rocket Man." Rocket Man, yearning at us, sing all heaven long. I must have heard that 1,000 times. I've still got absolutely no idea what that man sings. Rocket Man, burning up a scene all heaven long. What are you talking about, Elton John? Enunciate more clearly. I'm going to have to look that up in a break. What is he singing? I've sung along to it literally 1,000 times. Must be. But I just make a noise because I've got no idea what he's singing. It's weird, isn't it, that almost no British rocker sings in a British accent. I mean, you could name them on the finger. You could count them on the fingers of one hand. They all do American, don't they? All of them. It seems bizarre that it's virtually impossible to sing in a British accent. They just none of them do it. Mick Jagger, American. Elton John, very American. Even Roger Daltrey's does it in American, kind of. Depending, David Bowie did, depending on the song he was singing. Yeah, can you put number one down? Because my screen is.
It's down now.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It is on my screen.
Well, it's not on my screen, so no. Is it? Well, my screen. I've just refreshed it. Oh no. Hello. Ruler. No, not down. See.
Well, it's in rulers in 2 now.
Oh, it's on 2. Hello, Ruler.
Hello, am I on 2 or 1?
You're on 2, Ruler, and you sound fantastic on 2.
Thank you.
How's 2 working out for you?
Yeah, I've always liked the number 2.
Okay. All right.
So what happened the other day was I was driving home about 9 o'clock in the evening, and it was just before that downpour, it was pelting with rain.
Yeah.
And I thought, I saw a tanker in one of the petrol stations. Mm-hmm. So I thought, I'm going to wait here. As soon as he finishes, I'll be first in line.
Oh, smart thinking.
Yeah. By the time I was like waiting around, then I looked behind me, all these cars behind me. There was a whole trail of them. I'm talking about so long. The queue was so long. I didn't realise anyone noticed I was there. And then the tanker actually left, and the man came out and on the loudspeaker. He said, "No, you're not having any petrol till tomorrow."
What?
All these people, there were a couple of people got out of their cars. They were fuming.
Yeah.
It was like, we've wasted all this petrol waiting around. So I just drove off, and as I was going around and seeing this whole queue, I was laughing to myself. I thought, my God, I caused all this.
So,
and he wouldn't give anyone any petrol until the next morning.
But why is that? Do they have to let the sediment settle or something?
I don't know. Maybe he just thought, I'll have something to do tomorrow.
Right.
Rather than work all night, I can go home and have a good sleep and then come back. I don't know. It is a 24-hour one, so I don't, he really should have opened. But, and then the next day when I did queue up for, some petrol, they only let us have £20.
Right.
Everyone, which makes sense. Everyone.
Does it?
Well, it does, because, why should one tank that takes £60?
But the thing is, if you give people £20 worth, then they're pretty much just going to leave the station and then go and rejoin the queue. I mean, if not immediately, then maybe the next day or so when they've just got through 20 gallons of petrol.
Yeah, well...
If you let people fill up, then there's only so much petrol you can put in a car.
Yeah.
They can't fill it overly. I mean, like I said before, there are morons who are filling buckets and stuff.
How dangerous? The one that was put in a carrier bag, how dangerous?
There's morons everywhere. We're surrounded by them, Ruler.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So, yeah. You were saying about us, what's happening with the coming out of the EU and not having drivers.
Yeah.
A lot of Brexiteers were saying, once we do it, the rest of Europe are going to see us. They're going to, copy us. I doubt they'll want to copy this, what's going on in England. I doubt it very much.
No. We're providing comedy entertainment for the rest of the world, and I'm sure they appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, thanks a lot, Ruler. 0345 6060 973. So I looked up those lyrics, by the way. This is the first time I actually know what that man is singing. Oh no, 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 I'm a rocket man, and then I always used to sing Ham and Long. It's got nothing to do with that. Rocket man burning out his fuse up here alone. Is that a euphemism?
Disgusting.
Clean it up, Elton. No one wants to hear that. Burning out his fuse up here alone. Well, you don't enunciate clearly. Nobody can understand a word you're saying, Elton John. Mary texts, Nick, they'll be asking school kids to drive lorries next. Yes. Let's have a call in Streatham. Hello, John.
Hello there, Nick. Hi.
Good to talk to you, John.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Right. Yeah, I don't mean to be controversial, right?
Oh,
but
no.
I think
no.
No, listen. Brexit, in a way, Michael Moore said that Brexit and the vote of Trump were both Molotov cocktails, figuratively speaking, being thrown at the system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not wanting to ever agree with Priti Patel and Dominic Raab, but they did say that British people are the most lazy idlers in the world.
They did,
right?
Yes. They did say that, yeah.
Now, your esteemed colleague James O'Brien often sort of said that, like to say that, that was a bad thing for them to say, but I think that's the first right thing they've ever said, because we are quite lazy.
Are we?
Well, I mean, how many of us are fruit picking now that all the Romanians and Bulgarians have left?
Well, I mean, if you went to Germany or France, how many of their local citizenry would be out in the fields yanking tubers out of the ground? None of them, because they don't want to do that work either.
No, but in the restaurant trade, if you go to France and before COVID, I used to travel.
Yeah, it's different.
They did have, they had sommeliers and stuff, and here it's all Ricky Gervais said it's all surly uni students who just all standing going, I'm like uni.
No, I don't think that's true. It's all foreigners who are who are either used to or like or appreciate that kind of work. We don't. It's odd because you associate Brits with service, butlers and maids butlers and maids and nannies. I mean, traditionally, if you look at any Victorian film of like a big house, all the servants are English.
Well, that's like 200 years ago. I mean, now, I know this is a controversial point to make, and I don't want to sort of take up a controversial spot from,
yes,
former callers.
But you will anyway. Go on.
Yes. Yes. But we are idle, and now they're having to offer huge amounts to. I mean, there's been huge decreases in manual, the manual labourers have left.
Yeah, but that's not because we're idle. It's because that manufacturing has left. We get other countries to manufacture for us. Like China.
No, I meant things like waiting. All of the data say that the waiting staff have left.
Yeah.
The fruit pickers have left.
Right.
The drivers have left. Even a lot of the prostitutes have left, allegedly. Right?
Hands-on work, yes.
No, we've all just got this churn of everybody. I was back in my hometown, which is, I won't say where it is, but all of the kids, they're all dealing drugs, and they're all at uni. They're at uni dealing. None of them want to.
Wait a minute. Back up. They're dealing drugs and they're at university. Well, these are multi-skilled people.
Want to score some pot?
They're all at uni now. I was at a fried chicken shop in Streatham at the start of this week, and there was an overweight English girl who was calling up about her universal credits. I'm not having a go over that, great. But she tried to strike up a conversation with me like, the government ain't giving me my money, and I ignored her. But if you would have given her a mop there, and told us to do one of the jobs that the Romanians or Bulgarians used to do, she would have gone, I'm going to go uni. We are idle. It's the data showing it. That's how the country is grinding to a halt.
I don't agree. What data is showing that we are idle?
Well, the fact that you've got all these waiter vacancies, cleaner vacancies. I tried to get some cleaners for my mother, right? And I was almost throwing money. There's no English cleaners. There's no English grafters to do these things, like, all the things that the Poles used to do. Why have we got all these vacancies now?
Yeah, but we have these vacancies because all of the people that did them left because we were screaming at them to get out of our country. Exactly,
and now that they've left, the hard workers have left.
Yes.
Of Uncle Nigel's native population, no one wants to do those jobs.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Nige.
I'm a nutcase.
Yeah, see what you've done?
So
there's no one to do the jobs because the jobs were, until very recently, done by people who aren't here anymore. It takes, it would take time to get people to take up those jobs. You can't just immediately walk in to do like some complicated farming job or butchers or
cleaning
or any of these things. Maybe the jobs are in the wrong place for the people who are unemployed. You can't just up sticks and move house to go do a cleaning job.
Genuinely, before you cut me off, can I just ask you, I don't want to fall out with you, but genuinely, do you think that today's youth, right, and the ones who don't wear masks, and it's my right, if you told them to now start cleaning Travelodge or Premier Inn rooms, would they do it? Like today's 19-year-olds, they're all pregnant and doing drugs.
John...
Yeah, it's true. I live amongst them. It's true. They're all
all
I'm
pregnant
TikTok.
And doing drugs.
Right. I'm on TikTok and I want to do rap music. Cleaner than that, can't be bothered.
John, you must remember when you were a lad, you probably wanted to be a footballer or a pop star, just like everybody else does. Today's version of footballer or pop star is to be an influencer, whatever the hell that means.
Yeah, I've been idle for the past 29 years. We've been idle as a nation for about the past 80 years.
Because we don't want to do certain types of jobs does not mean to say that we are idle. Wouldn't it not be better if we did better, more highly skilled jobs than rather than consign ourselves to a future for cleaning up after ourselves?
Have you seen the average person on the streets? I'm not being rude, but I mean, it's hardly like...
Yes, you are being rude.
Have you seen them? I mean, have you genuinely seen... do you really want them to do sort of complex surgery or even, rearrange a sofa? I mean, it's not... We're not doing great on the brain. I mean, just look at the Daily Mail comments, for example. I mean, it's not like we're highly intelligent people.
Right. Okay. Well, I pushed back as much as I could, Great Britain, but I can't push back any further. Thanks a lot, John. But just as long as you don't say anything controversial. Lazy, fat, and stupid. I think that was summation. Lazy, fat, and stupid. But at least having no food this Christmas is going to mean we'll knock a couple of pounds off. Peter texts, Nick, did you know the song Why Does It Always Rain on Me was written by an artist called Travis from Glasgow? Yeah, I did know that. And Travis isn't a bloke, but never mind. Close, Peter. Very, very close. Sadly, no cigar. Charles texts, evening Nick, by sheer luck, I just stopped off at the co-op to get some bits and I got 62 quid's worth of diesel without queuing. Wow. But did you get any bits? Christian emails, according to meteorologists, forecasts more than 3 days into the future are unreliable. There is hope for Scotland. Nope. There is no hope for Scotland. Abandon all hope. Scottish people in Glasgow. Or anybody else who happens to be living in Glasgow. If it is not raining at the moment, then you are probably indoors. Look outside. That's where it is. Walsall. Hello, Mick.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks. Who am I?
It was a cheeky son, wasn't it? I've worked all my life. I'm English.
What did you do?
So, I've done a number of things. You know, I once worked 5 nights a week in a transport cafe for a tenner a week.
Luxury.
Shows how old I am. So, but yeah, I mean, I made the girl laugh anyway, because I said the Coast Guard are stopping the dinghies to see if there's any tanker drivers amongst them.
She laughed at that, did she?
Yeah, she found it funny. I said it's a joke, don't
Wow.
worry. But I've had no trouble I have seen, the only trouble I've had is getting around queues.
Very,
Not
very
going
hard.
into the garage,
Their roads aren't made for one entire lane to be taken up with people queuing.
Correct. I've had to find me. I took a friend to the hospital in New Cross, and I had to find a way around a great big long queue.
Yeah.
But myself, I've had no problem.
I left my car.
queues.
I left my car parked all week long. I didn't want to use it for anything at all, so I just stayed in and conserved fuel.
Yeah, but I mean that guy's got to realise this country's changed. I mean, at one time you could walk out of one job into another job the next day. There's that many factories everywhere. It's not like that no more. Most of them are, basically places that you go stacking parcels and whatever. So, but I'm retired now, so I'm out of it. And I used to have an HGV1 licence.
Aha. Well, why have you not rushed to this country's rescue?
Because I've done my bit.
Oh,
there.
you've done your bit, right.
They can get. I mean, I wouldn't do it today. I think there's too much traffic on the road. So, but it's not an easy job.
Yeah, no, I don't.
You know,
I don't believe that it is. No.
Because you're always in queues, and not petrol queues, just traffic jams.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that much traffic on the road. I mean, when I was a kid, I think there's only one person out street had a car.
Yeah, but if you look at old pictures of the centres of town, like I got a book of London through the ages, like a picture book, and I'm flipping through it, and the traffic in London at sort of about 1910, something like that, it's absolutely incredible. I mean, it's so busy, you wouldn't believe it. And if we had to suffer that level of traffic now, well, people would be they'd be blowing their tops off. Not their tops, their lids. They'd be flipping their lids, is pretty much exactly what I wanted to say. There'd be lid flipping. So I think this idea that traffic has always just got worse and worse and worse is not necessarily true, because it used to actually be much worse than it is now. Plus, with the added danger of horse products all over the place.
Disgusting.
Terrible. Huge mounds of it. Imagine that. Anyway, thanks a lot, Mick. Thanks for your efforts. Oh, that's right. You didn't make any. Peter says, did you know... Oh, I read that. Charles says, read that. Christian says, read that. God, I'm way ahead of schedule. All three. I'll try another one. Richard says, if farmers can't recruit enough people to pick Brussels sprouts, there won't be any of these venomous vegetables in the shops for Christmas, and nobody will be forced to eat the blooming things. I like Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts are the kind of thing that children don't like. Are you a child, Richard? It's like, but I don't like it. Well, have you tried it? No. You'll sit there until you've eaten it. Milan in Italy. Jonathan.
Hello, Nick.
Jonathan.
Good evening, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Hello, good evening.
Oh, my God. Can we get past the hello and the good evenings?
Okay, yes, certainly, of course we can. Now, it's a bit, first question, it's a bit autumnal now. Are you on Fahrenheit or centigrade at the moment?
I'm dipping in and out between the two. I'm on the cusp of going centigrade.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, it's 22 here tomorrow. So
well, thank you, but we
very
don't
much still in the centigrade.
We don't wish to know that. Once it goes below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, then I think I'm about ready to go centigrade.
Sounds reasonable.
It does.
No, I phoned to say it doesn't seem to have been reported much in the press in the UK. But as of midnight last night, Priti Patel introduced her ban on EU citizens entering the UK on a EU identity card. They need to have a passport.
That's right. Got to have a passport now, says Priti Patel.
Yeah, and that's like 200 million EU citizens that won't be able to come and prop up the UK tourism industry.
Well,
and
yes,
drive trucks and
very
work in
specifically, it's people
shops and stuff.
won't be able to drive their lorries into this country unless they have their papers.
I know. It just seems bizarre.
Insane? Yes, like a ridiculous way to run a country. I know. It is weird. If you were told that the current regime is actively trying to hobble this country, then you would be probably not mistaken for thinking, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
I know that was a very
lots
convoluted way of putting it, but
lots of people who go on cheap airline websites looking for a weekend away, and as soon as they click on London, and some pop-up arrives saying you need a passport to go to London, then lots of Italians are going to be saying, well, I haven't got a passport because I don't need one. I've never needed one. I travel within the EU. And we'll just go to Paris or Prague or Madrid or somewhere else and spend their money.
Well, yeah, exactly right. We'll go somewhere where I don't have to go and fork out £100 for a book to please Priti Patel.
Yeah, and I think in Italy here, passports are quite expensive and you have to pay various government stamps to keep them up together. So unless people are specifically spending loads of money on a holiday in, I don't know, New York or somewhere like that, they don't really bother, because you can have quite a good social life and have holidays without a passport.
Yeah, I don't think it's much of an impediment to people who are determined to go on holiday. I mean, if you're going to go on holiday, you can get a passport. If you're going to spend enough money that you're going to go and enjoy yourself abroad, then you can get a passport. What I'm more concerned about are the drivers of lorries who aren't aware of this yet, and they're going to be showing up at the coast, and Priti Patel is going to leaf through their papers, find them incomplete, and turn them around.
Do you think many are going to turn up?
Well, I mean, there's
hoping to work in the UK.
Well, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who are already coming here, because thousands and thousands of lorries come in and out as it is.
They're already going backwards and forwards. Yeah,
correct. Sure. Yeah, but they are unaware of these new preposterous changes that we've visited upon ourselves. You know that bonfire of red tape that they promised us? It's not a bonfire. It's a pile, right enough, but they didn't set fire to it. They just keep adding to it.
It doesn't seem to have been reported very much.
No.
I don't know if it's going to cause massive problems like today at the airports. But
well, leave it. I have detailed files. Yeah. Leave it with me, Jonathan.
Excellent.
I appreciate it. Nick. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Rihanna texts, when will this petrol crisis end? Yesterday, I spent 2.5 hours at a petrol station in southwest London. First, it was toilet rolls. Now, this Christmas is not looking good, says Rihanna. Yeah, well, you're not the first person to say it, Rihanna. Lots of people have been saying that this Christmas is not looking good. What I'm concerned about is the day after Christmas. I mean, people are going to be concentrating all of their efforts on saving Christmas, especially Bodger, who is dreaming of newspaper headlines, Boris saves Christmas. I would imagine that the full might of the government is invested in making that happen. And that's the only thing he would be concerned about, I would imagine. What I'm concerned about is if once all of those efforts fall away, what's going to happen on Boxing Day? How about the day after Boxing Day? What's January the 5th going to look like here? Yeah, some expert engineers are doing some work in the building, and they said, don't worry about a thing. At most, some of your lights may dim, but absolutely no question of it affecting the phones. Well, the lights are still on, but we haven't got any phones. But apart from that, everything is going tremendously well. Nothing to see here. Please move along. Paul tweets, did you hear about Dominic Raab suggesting that we could let prisoners help assist the fuel crises by driving tankers? What could possibly go wrong? Seems like desperation to me. Yeah, angular, tetchy humanoid Dominic Raab just keeps coming up with these ideas. How does he do it? Well, okay, you want to talk about Christmas? It's a bit early, but people have already given up on it. Britons are warned that a nightmare Christmas is looming. A shortage of butchers means that farmers believe that they'll have to throw pigs in a skip because they can't be slaughtered and carved. Which seems, I mean, they're going to kill them anyway. Why can't they just, cut them up into little bits? 150,000 animals are under threat of being culled in the next 10 days. Culled as in killed. We don't say killed because, it would upset too many people. which I think is probably why we call it pork, not pig. Do you fancy cow this evening? 150,000 animals are under threat of being killed in the next 10 days, according to the National Farmers Union, but it has nothing to do with Brexit and the farm workers leaving because we told them to get out. Goodness me, no. Why would anybody think that? Experts say a lack of HGV drivers and fuel and labour shortages will lead to a distinct lack of choice this year, with many essential gifts and foods scarce or missing completely. No essential gifts? What? Retail analyst Clive Black of Shore Capital said, a lot of people eating on Christmas Day will be This is a direct quote. Retail analyst Clive Black said, a lot of people eating on Christmas Day will be asking, what the hell is this?
What the hell is going on?
Shoppers were told this week that a raft of items from turkey to beer, as well as fizzy drinks and electronic goods, are under threat this Christmas amid the supply chain crisis. British families may also struggle to find toys and sofas. The shame! You'll be sitting on last year's sofa on Jesus' birthday. There are serious problems emerging in the meat sector, which has nothing to do with all of these workers in the meat sector leaving to go back to where they came from, just as we asked loudly for years. The Cabinet is now said to be considering easing visa restrictions for up to 1,000 foreign butchers to avert the crisis. You know, nothing says Brexit's going well more than desperately trying to persuade the people that we threw out to come back and help save us from this self-inflicted wound, while saying that we still don't really want them here and they'll have to get gone on the 24th of December, you know, once they've saved our Christmas. Then we'll start yelling at them to get out again. I mean, I might be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure that Europeans have Christmas too, so they might want to, I don't know, save their own Christmas. It's a bit rich, isn't it, that this government is trying to get foreign workers to plug the gap left by foreign workers that they insisted on throwing out. They want a temporary halt to their headline policy of Brexit to fix the problem caused by Brexit while blaming it on something else. It's almost as though they have no idea what they're doing and just lurch from one catastrophe to the next like a drunken ice skater.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
So the solution is to persuade the people that we throw out to come back and save us. Tempting?
No.
Not really. I can't imagine it. But it's worse than that. Shall I tell you about it? Are you sitting comfortably? Or as Priti Patel would say, pay attention! The Times claims that Priti Patel is against the idea of begging Europeans to come back to where they weren't wanted, because she's concerned the idea is being pushed by British industry to move back towards pre-Brexit freedom of movement. Maybe she spent too much time on board ship doing all that important dinghy spotting. The reason that business want to get the foreign labour back is that they can't cope without them. Crops are rotting in the fields. Animals will have to be killed and thrown away in huge numbers because they can't get them into abattoirs because the butchers have gone. I mean, this government seems to be incapable of thinking through any problem. They arrive at any problem with a fixed idea based on belief rather than knowledge, and they're unable to react to any new circumstance. It's like they arrive at a door and they can't get in because they got the wrong key. And rather than going and getting the right key, they just keep trying and trying with the wrong key because if they believe hard enough, it will magically work. Or at most they'll do an, oh, all right then, here you go, effort and wash their hands of it. Like 5,000 driver visas, when the problem is 100,000 too few drivers, or visas for 1,000 EU butchers when we need 15,000. These aren't going to solve the problem, but it gets you a headline, and that seems to be their thing. The chairman of the National Pig Association, there is actually such a thing, said, The problem in the industry has got very considerably worse over the last 3 weeks, and we are within a couple of weeks of actually having to consider a mass cull of animals in this country. He said it's very difficult to say how many there are. We think our backlog is in the region of 120,000. Wow. He says, as we stand here today, it's growing by about 12,000 a week at the moment. Asked what a mass cull would mean, he said it involves either shooting pigs on a farm or taking them to an abattoir, killing the animals and actually throwing them in a skip at the other end. Can you believe it? So you'll be able to tell your little ones on Christmas morning that their toys are in China and their dinner is in the skip. Retail analyst Clive Black also warned that turkeys could be replaced by nut roasts, and many people will ask, what the hell is this, when they look at their plate on Christmas Day? Well, side note, just for perspective, some people in the world will not have a plate on Christmas Day or the day after or the day after that. But we are concentrating solely on ourselves here because that's what Jesus would want. Retail analyst Clive Black said, I expect Christmas will be a nightmare for consumers. There'll be food on supermarket shelves, but there will be a distinct lack of choice. He said shortages of labour have meant businesses have not laid down the same number of turkeys or planted the same number of crops, and the HGV driver shortage is compounding the problem. He said Christmas dinner won't be traditional. He said we may be eating other meats and nut roasts. He said equally, if the carbon dioxide problem does not settle, expect beer and carbonated soft drinks to be in short supply and a lot more expensive. No beer? He said Christmas is going to be much pricier generally, and predicted that shipping issues could bring shortages of toys, bikes, sofas and electronic goods. But that's okay. Who needs toys, bikes, sofas and electronic goods at Christmas? Mr. Black also bemoaned what he described as a mismanagement of the economy. Well, that can't be true. I didn't think this government was managing the economy at all. Kate Martin, chairman of the Traditional Farm Fresh Turkey Association, which is their actual name, not something I just made up. She warned that Britain has a shortage, or is looking at a shortage of Christmas turkeys amid a farm labour shortage, which has nothing to do with us insisting that all those EU farm labourers go back to where they came from. She said supermarket supplies are likely to be hit by a shortage of skilled European employees after Brexit. But that's what Brexiters voted for. I mean, I've been told 1,000 times that they knew what they were voting for, and more expensive, less available food must have been at the top of their wish list. It's a dream come true. Tesco has already warned that a shortage of delivery drivers, which is causing empty shelves, could lead to panic buying in the lead up to Christmas. Us? Panic buying? That would never happen. People are freaking out already. 2 months away. No, wait, 2 months. October, November, 3 months. God, it's 3 months away and people are freaking out about Christmas already. The government has announced a temporary visa scheme for 5,000 HGV drivers and 5,500 poultry workers brought in on 3-month contracts to help shelves stock with turkeys and tackle fuel delivery difficulties. We yelled at European workers that we don't want their sort round here, and now we're stuffed without them. We want them to forget all that and come back and help us out before we tell them to get out again because we still don't want them here. Any takers?
No.
Meanwhile, Deputy Prime Minister and angular tetchy humanoid Dominic Deckchair Raab has suggested that offenders who have been given community sentences could be used to address the country's lack of HGV drivers amid continuing concerns about fuel shortages. But first off, they'll need to want to do the work. I mean, you can't force someone into labour, especially as tanker drivers. They'll be driving a huge weapon. If you're a tanker driver, then you're in control of a massive bomb. Second small detail, they'll need to be trained, which takes months. You know that Dominic Deckchair Raab has got 3 titles? He's the Deputy Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. He's the Secretary of State for Justice and Lord Chancellor. That is a pretty good indicator of the talent that Bodger has surrounded himself with, that Deckchair Rob holds 3 offices of state. Was Mr. Blobby not available?
No.
But that's not all, because, as you've heard, it's about to get worse. A global road transport body said that changes to Britain's border rules could compound existing issues for freight entering the United Kingdom. This is what I was talking to that chap about some moments ago. Under new immigration rules, which have come into force as part of post-Brexit measures to end the freedom of movement, European Union ID cards are no longer accepted as proof of identity. Instead, EU nationals will need a passport to enter the United Kingdom. And the International Road Transport Union said that some drivers are going to be caught out. They said it'll just be a matter of luck as to whether those drivers have got something you want in the back of their lorries and whether they'll get in or not, whether they manage to remember to pack their passports, or whether they even heard about such a thing was going to be necessary. The International Road Transport Union said, aside from not seeing the real benefits of adding this layer of bureaucracy, you remember when they said that it was going to be much, much less bureaucracy, less red tape, easier trade, more money, all of those things. Still waiting. They said, the International Road Transport Union said, aside from not seeing the real benefits of adding this layer of bureaucracy and potentially affecting already difficult border freight flows post-Brexit, we are also concerned that passports are generally more expensive than ID cards. They said UK authorities need to implement the change, respecting professional drivers without unnecessary bureaucracy or causing border or supply chain disruptions that would compound the serious supply chain issues already being seen in the UK due to driver shortages because of Brexit. So all we have to rely on, that this government will implement a complicated set of self-imposed red tape on the border with efficiency and care. You know, just like at the airports, where British people have been queuing for hours at passport control to get back into their own country. We're doomed. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
This text says it's like living in the 1970s all over again, but without any of the fun. Yeah, and the music's worse.
Rock and roll!
Paul tweets, but the fashions are better. And the haircuts, by the way. Paul tweets, hi Nick, I read today that Uncle Nige was blaming, quotes, the lazy migrants in Europe for not wanting to come over here and help. Can you believe that? Says Paul. No, Paul, I don't believe that. I think you made that up. I mean, he does say some daft things.
We are thick, we are stupid.
But not that. Do me a favour. He can't possibly be moaning about that, can he?
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Daryl says, don't worry, Nick, the government may be performing badly, but we always have Her Majesty's loyal opposition to hold them to account.
Fabulous.
Just so long as the opposition don't get distracted by descending into furious infighting. Yeah, there is that. God. I mean, I didn't sit there for the whole hour and a half and listen to his speech because, you know...
Boring!
But I got the gist of it above the people yelling at him in the hall. The left wing are absolutely hopeless. They are. Those on the left. Utterly, totally and completely hopeless. They'll wrestle each other to the ground while the right wing step nimbly over them to power. Hopeless. I mean, what can you say? If it wasn't so serious, it'd be comical. Brentwood, hello, David.
Yeah, hi, Nick. I didn't ring in about Brexit, having listened to you the last 20 minutes, but I did want to mention that there is a worldwide shortage of drivers. I mean,
yes.
It's not just Brexit.
No, that's right. But we are suffering much more than anybody else.
Well,
I mean, there's 400,000 in Europe. in all of Europe, 400,000 short. We are over 100,000 in little old Britain, which means that our shortage is double what they're suffering in Europe.
Yeah, but I think, it's a long-term issue. We haven't been training up drivers and, anyway, I didn't want to bash on about that, but I did want to say that, the whole idea that, that Christmas is going to be cancelled because we can't get pigs in blankets. I saw some woman, a pig farmer, saying she was going to give up because she had a kettle of pigs, and I thought that was the object of the exercise.
Exactly right. But the problem with killing the pigs is that you've got to cut them up once they're killed, and that is like a very specific and specialised task. Yes, so, and the people that do that, they've left along with the drivers.
Well, yes, but I did support Brexit, and there was always going to be adjustment. Nobody
adjustment. Do me a favour. After what period of time do we cease to be adjusting?
Yeah, that was why people voted for Brexit, because they were being, undercutting salaries. Nobody.
Well, isn't it interesting though? If that's actually the case, then why haven't all of those jobs been immediately taken up?
Well, as I say, it doesn't happen overnight, does it? These wages will rise, and people will have to take these jobs.
Well, people keep saying that as though it can just magically happen that way, and things will remain the same. If wages rise, that means the price of the goods will also rise.
Not necessarily.
Of course they will.
No.
Of course they will.
A lot of employers, people who run farms, which are mostly run by city conglomerates, they can, they just have to cut back on their profits.
Farmers make almost nothing. It's a desperate effort on a daily basis to keep your head above water.
I agree, but I see. They talk about shortages in supermarkets. I agree that you can see the shelves are getting emptier. But they still managed to get Polish, Spanish tomatoes, Spanish. There doesn't seem to be a problem in getting anything from Europe. There never has been in British supermarkets. You very rarely see British produce. I don't see that Brexit has stopped, European produce reaching British supermarkets.
Well, it's weird what is lacking. I went to get some porridge, and there was some porridge, but there wasn't the type that I like, which is from Ireland. Don't tell me why I like it. I just do. It's what I'm used to buying. And yes, there was none there. I went to the spirit section, and they didn't have any Mexican tequila. So the shortages don't seem to make any sense as far as trading with Europe is concerned. But we don't just trade with Europe. We get stuff from here, there, and everywhere, baby.
Well, exactly. And I just think that the whole Brexit pandemic thing has been combined. The people who want to blame Brexit will blame Brexit. And I think it's a combination of both. But going back to Christmas, I just think, the idea that we're not going to get Christmas is just, it's a way with the fairies, isn't it?
But why do you Christmas? Wait a minute. Christmas will come at the specified time. But if you don't have a tree, which is what they've been saying, if you don't have a turkey, they've been saying that too. If you don't have your pork nibbles, and you got no toys that the kids wanted, then what?
You don't seriously believe that. I know you don't, because you're too tethered.
If I had told you a month ago, David, that people would be queuing and fighting with knives on petrol forecourts, then you wouldn't have believed me, would you?
Well, no, because the British people have changed. They're not the British people that I know. I'm old. I'm long enough in the tooth to know that.
Are you kidding me? Our entire history is one of extreme aggression. That's what we do for a living.
Well, I'm old enough to remember the 70s, when rubbish was piled in, and people talk about as if, it was worse now than it was then. I remember going to Leicester Square and the whole place was a rubbish dump.
Yeah.
It was just piled high. And
exactly.
Yeah. Nobody has a clue what it was like who didn't experience it. They've no idea. And inflation and everything else. This is a cakewalk compared to the 70s.
Well, just wait. I mean, inflation has only just started to tick up, and once the wages start to go through the roof, then the inflation will increase accordingly because someone's got to pay for it.
Yeah, we need inflation. We need some inflation on wages. Now, people say, "Oh, wage inflation is bad." Well, I'm sorry, it's not for the people who, haven't had a decent wage rise, is it? Anyway, I just think Christmas, people don't, I eat turkey, but it wouldn't bother me if I didn't eat turkey this year. I'd have something else. I mean, it's just ludicrous.
Like what? Fish?
Well, but yeah, people eat all sorts of things at Christmas. Salmon, beef, pork, you name it.
Yeah, but you know as well as I do that people start planning this kind of thing for about a month ahead of time, and they want their pudding, and they want their gravy, and they want their sprouts, and their parsnips, and their turkey, and their roasties, and all of the rest of it.
But I guarantee they will get them. I just don't. I mean,
that's a ridiculous thing to say. You can't possibly guarantee anything of the sort. What you mean is you think. But then I refer you back to my comment some moments ago that if I told you a month ago that people would be queuing for 5 hours to get petrol, then you would have told me I was off my head. Well, look around. Dave, I've got to go. But I appreciate your belief. He believes. He's clicking the heels of his glittery shoes together as we speak. Andy texts, "Hi Nick, it's Rocket Man running out of fuel up here alone." See? Enunciate, Elton. This text says, "I've just ordered 20 litres of unleaded on Amazon with free delivery. Thanks, Mr. Bezos. Nice rocket, by the way." They don't sell unleaded on Amazon. Julian texts, "Perhaps Britain should airdrop visas from planes over European lorry depots to help drum up drivers to save us. Please help us." Yeah, I very much doubt that they're remotely interested. Newport, hello Mick.
Hello Nick.
Mick.
Nick, listen mate, I just wanted, there's several points I wanted to make really, but the first thing about the petrol stations is why on earth have we got a maximum charge? We should have a minimum charge. 35 quid. If you pull in, or 30 quid even, pull in, and you can't get 30 quid's worth of fuel in your car, you still pay 30 quid. People will start thinking twice about whether they need to pull into a queue or not.
Well, that's an interesting idea.
Well, why are we doing it? I mean, minimum charge, everyone can get a minimum in. I can get 5 quid in the car.
Yeah, I wonder how many people are just buying a tiny, tiny amount just in order to keep themselves topped up. Yes.
Yeah. Listen, I love your show. I don't show your politics mostly, certainly not on Brexit, but you're so entertaining. I'll tell you what, you should be the opposition. You should.
Well, I'll start first thing on Monday. How does that sound?
I was listening to your earlier call there, and he's got a point. One of the reasons that I voted for Brexit was because I felt that it was compressing salaries in this country. I've got a friend of mine who's a coach driver, for instance. He's paid £10 an hour. He works up to 15 hours a day. Every time he and his colleagues go for a rise, they always come back with, "Well, we've got plenty of polls waiting for your job if you don't want to work for this." That has always been a problem. It does compress salaries in this country, and if you want to raise salaries in this country, we've got to sort it out here, not rely on overseas labour. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, but yes, okay. I sort of agree. It's a very complicated issue, and we're making it much easier than it actually is. But it's indisputable that if wages rise, then the cost of whatever those people produce will also rise.
Up.
Yeah. So your risen wages won't perhaps actually make you any better off. In fact, they might make you worse off.
I agree, and this is sensitive, I know, but I've said for years that it would be difficult coming out of Europe, and we would have years of pain. But eventually, long term, when I look at my son, my kids, my grandchildren now, I think it would be a better place to live.
Ask them about that, Mick. Ask them about that and see what they say. Exactly.
Yeah, I know. I agree, and I fight that with my son, and we go on very well, but we do disagree on this point. but I do believe it.
You've narrowed their horizons. They used to be able to go and study anywhere they liked for nothing in Europe, for free. And now they are restricted to just studying in this country for, £10,000-15,000 a year it's going to cost them.
Yeah, I agree. And I can't argue against that, but I still don't see that that's necessarily a wrong thing. I do feel that we've been controlled and governed, if you like, and our laws have been laid down by an unelected assembly over...
Nick, you've got to be kidding me. I refuse to have this argument again. It was not an unelected assembly. Those people that were not elected directly by the people of Europe were elected by the people that we elected. As opposed to this country, when you just donate a certain amount to the Conservative Party and you get to go and sit in the House of Lords for the rest of your life as an unelected bureaucrat making rules for this country.
Yep, that's a very good point, and I accept that. But the problem here is that as England or UK, our contribution to the European Union, when you're electing a parliament, if you like, is minimal. We don't really have a say.
Of course we do. Of course we do. Well, here we go back to which rules and regulations have you been suffering under that we actually made by sitting around the table? Which ones are you most aggrieved about? And the answer, because I've had this conversation so many times, I know precisely how it'll go. I'll say, which laws are you most keen to get rid of? And the answer will come, all of them, which means you've got absolutely no idea. The idea has been put into the minds of people that the reason you have not achieved your potential is because of this sort of amorphous cloud of people below you on the ladder, pulling you down. Added to this sort of devilish, unelected bureaucracy. But the EU is a far more democratic organisation than the government of this country, half of which is in the House of Lords, and we didn't elect any of those people, and they get to sit there forever. I can't have that conversation again, Mick. I just can't. Over and over and over again, and it always goes the same way. Which laws do you want rid of? All of them. Or they'll say, vacuum cleaners. Oh, for crying out loud. It's painful. Iris Ann says, "Hi Nick, Mark Bolan sang in a British accent. It was his birthday yesterday and he would have been 74. Big fan still," says Iris. How big, Iris? Approximately. Did he sing in an English accent? It was a sort of a metal guru. Is it you? It was sort of no kind of accent. Andrea texts, "Nick, you are not correct." Or, you are not correct on this occasion. Judas Priest and Lemmy, English accents always. That's true. Judas Priest did, What's It out of Judas Priest sings in an English accent. And Lemmy, well, I suppose so. I suppose so. You could call that singing, I suppose. Notting Hill, Sharif.
Hello.
Hello.
I despair, honestly. I just got to the point. Can I have a refund from my life? Because I honestly, I listen to these people, things they come out with. It's like you've just voted to ruin your children's lives, right? And yet, I know you can prove anything with facts, but the point is, I think it might. I know I'm right deep in my heart. It's like, well, what's wrong with you? It's like when he goes to the hospital and there's no one to actually look after him because all of the migrants have gone, and we're having to invite people to come over. And let's face it as well, we're just going to have to go cold turkey, right? Because the point is, what is this turkey save Christmas malarkey? I couldn't give a tinker's cuss about Christmas.
Wow. Oh, I hope that Jesus isn't listening to this, because it's his birthday you're talking about.
He's going to burn me alive. But do you know what it is? It's like, to me, I'll sit with my family and I'll have a meal and I'll do whatever it is. But it's just like the idea that somehow if I don't have exactly what I want, as you say, there are people who are worse off in the globe.
Yes.
But we're so self-entitled.
Of course. I mean,
and it's
I hate for this to sound selfish, but it's me.
That's exactly what it is. And your other fellow there, I think his name was John. He was describing everyone as being lazy in this country and blah, 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 blah. You know, listen, I used to go with my ma and we used to do fruit picking, right? The point is, though, pay the European workers a decent wage. Pay everyone a decent wage. I've got no problem with migration at all. Stop taking advantage of people and pay them a decent wage.
Well, you say that as though it's only a one-way trip and that we, the consumer, have no say in it. But we do. We have the option at supermarkets of cheap stuff made with cheap labour.
See, we're complicit.
It's our fault. It's less complicit. It's our fault. People who manufacture anything, food, shirts, shoes, anything, they know that we are utterly price sensitive. It's pretty much the only thing we're interested in. We don't care how much money has gone into the making of a shirt as long as we can buy 3 of them for a tenner.
But Nick, not to sound like a scruff, most of my clothes are all second hand. I don't. And my children are the same. He says, I don't. You know, I have zero carbon footprint. I don't go on holiday. I go nowhere.
Right. Well, this is not about you, Sharif. No, I'm talking about the consumer and our.
Earlier on, Nick. Earlier on, Nick, you said something about people who want to go on holiday. Why do they want to go on holiday? Why has it become in their right to actually go on holiday all the time? What is this thing?
Well, it's what people are used to. That's all. I mean, nobody's been on holiday for a year or so, and we aren't freaking out about it. Nobody's dying because of a lack of holiday.
Look, it's my anniversary tomorrow, right? I've been married 30 years, and I've been abroad once, and that was a business trip. And it's like, I travel around our lovely country.
Yeah.
And I've got no interest in jumping on a plane, sitting with lots of people and going through bloody baggage checkout and all that stuff. It's become like some kind of a obsession. Oh, I can't go on a holiday. Oh, I'm not going to get the turkey. Just make do. They were talking last week. Honestly, they were talking about bringing rationing back.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, rationing. We're the 5th, 6th richest economy, and they're straight face saying they're going to bring back rationing.
Everything is going so well that we're revisiting 1946.
And I'll tell you something, all you Brexiteers out there, I'll tell you something, all of you, right? Just look and see what you've done to your families, and look what you're going to do to yourselves. You're going to reap the rewards of what you've done, because it's not going to get any better.
Sharif, it's just bouncing right off. You're making absolutely no headway whatsoever. But I wish you all the best. Thanks a lot, mate. Cheer up, it might never happen. Oh, no, that's right. It already has. Yeah, I think it's a bit rich to, against the expressed desires of young people, to say, no, we older people, we know best. We want to narrow your horizons. We want to reduce your opportunities in life. It's for your own good. And then be determined that you have made the right decision on their behalf, despite the fact that they are screaming that they don't want to go this way. I'll say it again. If you took the economically inactive, as in the retired, out of the Brexit vote, we would not have left the European Union. It's older people, kids. They're doing it to you. And the reason that that they are able to keep making up your future for you is that kids don't vote. And by kids, I mean those who are able to, under the age of, let's say, 50. Under the age of 50, people vote with their voting intention. People who are absolutely determined to go out and vote, I think, is maybe 47%, something like that. And the younger they are, the less likely they are to go and vote. Above the age of 50, it's getting on for like 70-some%. So it could be about double. That's the reason that you never get what you want, kids. It's because you can't be bothered to vote. For all sorts of reasons. Chief among which, I imagine, is, it's so boring. Or, they're all the same. Just pick one. Baz texts, hi Nick, the fuel shortage has created record sales of limp garage forecourt flowers due to the length of time that men are spending away looking for a drop of fuel and then having to beg for forgiveness when they finally arrive home 3 days later. I think that was probably somewhat sexist, but never mind. Sean, I think we got away with it. Sean texts, there is absolutely no reason why they can't open and sell petrol after a delivery. It used to be my job, says Sean. I've heard that so many times that a tanker has come in and delivered and filled up all the tanks, but then the people in the garage don't open the pumps for people to squirt fresh, delicious fuel up their cars. So why not? And I imagined that the reason was because it, mixes up the sediment, all that sludge in the bottom of the tank.
Disgusting.
And it's, they don't want to put that in a car, so they let it all settle down a bit. But I don't know. And Jay emails, Morrissey sings, brackets, whines with a British English accent. Yes, he most certainly does. Morossi. Camden. Hello, Elizabeth.
Oh, Nick, good show.
Thanks.
Hi.
Hi.
I was listening to you talk earlier about Dominic Raab.
Yes, deck chair.
No wonder the country's in such a mess. I don't know he did those 3 jobs.
Apparently.
But what it made me remember was Ian Dale the other day interviewing Michel Barnier.
Oh, yeah.
Who intends to become the president of France.
Yeah.
And it was just amazingly refreshing to hear 2 adults discussing politics. It's been forever. And they've got Michel Barnier has our Prime Minister nailed, absolutely. And it was lovely to hear, like he's not going to let him off with the policy. And he went on and on repeatedly about there is to be no drama. We will keep peace in Northern Ireland. And he managed not to say charade once. Because I feel like we're all caught up in some grim charade.
Yeah.
And this guy, the 2 of them had it really soft. They were really diplomatic. And it was great.
Right.
There is normality out there, I promise. I didn't know it till then.
Yeah, but unfortunately it's in France.
Well, we could try.
We can fly. You can go to France, Elizabeth.
If we can get the passport.
Yeah, just as long as you don't mind queuing for 10 hours to get back into this country.
I do mind, actually.
You do mind, right.
Sorry.
Best not to go. Just enjoy the surroundings of Camden. Oh.
Well, I can't. I'm not allowed out. But I went to hospital again at the weekend, and I think it's such a horrible cheek. It's a real cheek that we do not raise the wages of those people who save our lives.
Are you talking about?
It was a harsh experience.
Not doctors, nurses. You're talking about.
Doctors and nurses.
Well, doctors
and
earn quite a bit, you know. Doctors earn quite a bit.
Well, the orderlies and the nurses don't.
No, they don't. No, that's true.
So I just thought I'd add that because I came back quite humbled, which is difficult for me, but I was.
Okay, all right.
And if I can be humbled, so can Boris Johnson.
Exactly.
Let's
Thanks,
work
Elizabeth.
on it.
All right.
Can we work on it?
I'll do my best. I'll pass it on. I'll hand him a note. Frank emails, went for a drink this evening and met a lovely Polish lady who was telling me that her English boyfriend was going to apply for a Polish passport once they got married, as he wants to be a European again. She was laughing a lot at the irony of it. I did ask her if she could drive a lorry, says Frank. You know, it's your patriotic duty every time you meet somebody in the street or wherever else they may be. Just ask them if they can drive a lorry. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know, for the benefit of the nation. Speaking of France, here's a caller in Calais, Stefano.
Hello, yes.
Stefano.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you for taking my call. Yeah, I'm originally from Bulgaria, and I used to live in the UK. So I'm a lorry driver.
Yep.
And we've been watching closely what's been happening in the UK on all that shortage of drivers and what is it as well, nurses and butchers, apparently. And I can tell you now that we are all excited about the news about this short-term visa.
Are you?
And we all, if you let me finish, I'll explain.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about 200 of my friends. We've all camped out here. We are all waiting in Calais, and we can't wait for the visas. We're just waiting for Priti Patel to let us in, so we can get back and deliver some fuel. And
Right.
also, I've spread the word about. I heard you need some butchers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll spread the word as well in my village as well. So a couple of butchers that I know closely promised me they will come as well.
Right.
Because to be fair, we don't want here in the EU, we don't want to ruin your Christmas.
Right.
Apparently, because your
Okay.
Christmas is more
All
important.
right. Are you out of material? Yeah, I think so. Okay. A decent-ish effort, I suppose. Yeah, he's just hanging out in Calais with 200 of his mates, just waiting for Priti Patel to allow a dinghy through. 0345 6060 973. This text says, the hospitality industry is not respected in this country, and the awful wages reflect that. That man calling us lazy is mad. We don't want to be exploited in this country. Thank God for trade unions that have not allowed workers to work for a pittance while others get rich by the hard labour of others. Madman also reading too many Daily Mail articles. Yeah. You know, I can't remember exactly the name. It doesn't really matter. But some Americans did a study of this, people come over here and they take our jobs, all of those like tropes. And one person will say, well, the reason that the wages are so low is because people come over here and they're competing for, and that's the reason why. It's like people will do this work for a lot less than we will, and that's why our wages are so low. What they found was that it's almost an invisible effect on almost all professions. In fact, by which I mean there is no effect on lowering wages. What tends to happen is that people from from here, for instance, will do better jobs, while those jobs that they didn't want to do get done by people who come here because those wages are attractive to them, they being significantly more than they would earn in their own country. So we have used it doesn't sound very good, but we've used them as stepping stones. While they do the grunt work, we can then do better work. So in effect, they're not pulling down wages, they're actually opening up the opportunity for us to do better, highly paid work. I mean, whether we take that opportunity or not is up to us, I suppose. But we shouldn't be surprised that people in this country don't want to bend over double in a field for 12 hours pulling turnips out the ground. Because who does? Unless you're so desperate, or the money that is being offered is significantly more than you could earn in your own country doing any kind of work. And what people don't seem it's the invisible part of this equation that people just completely ignore. It's not people coming here that is necessarily the problem. It's the work that we used to do here that is now done abroad. That's surely a bigger issue, but nobody thinks about that because it's out of sight. You're not surrounded by people doing that work of sewing your shirts together and making machinery and plastic toys and all the rest of it, because we don't do that here. We get other countries to do it because the labour is cheaper, so that the eventual price of the product is something that we're comfortable with. But the outcome is the same. Those jobs that we used to do are now no longer done by us, but it's because it's done somewhere else. We just pretend that the problem does not exist. Unless the whole issue is we just don't like foreigners. You know, I don't want to talk about it, but Bodger Johnson's got some nerve in saying that, dreadful that people aren't getting justice. When, under the Conservative administration, they lost 21,000 police, 25,000 police support staff, half of all the police stations, half of the magistrates' courts, and they've slashed legal aid. Do you think that might have something to do with it? Think about it, Bodge. I'm going to send you a mirror in the post. Jason texts, that caller I was speaking to some a while ago is who is calling all the kids lazy, yet he is too lazy to do his own cleaning. Clearly he thinks he is too good to clean, so why shouldn't the kids not want to do something more aspirational? He really didn't realise the irony of what he was saying, says Jason, with about 10 exclamation marks, like he's shouting at me. Mike emails, the badger's just eaten the meat pie I left out for the fox. I blame Brexit, says Mike. Well, have you heard that Christmas is off? Yeah, I know we're about 3 months out, but already it's cancelled. Sorry about that. It's off. Not happening this year. I mean, talk about panicking. This is ridiculous. I'll get into this in a minute because it's like Christmas delivery. One major name has put out its Christmas delivery slots for food and such like. And how do you think that went? I'll get into that in a minute. Let's have a call in St Ives. Hello, Brenda.
Hello, Nick.
Brenda.
Nick.
Brenda.
I cannot believe I've just heard that on the news a warning's being put out that there will be no pigs in blankets.
No pigs in blankets.
Warning, warning.
And
Yes.
Nick, you won't be able to have your cuddly teddy bear. And Nick, you won't be able to have a pumpkin at Halloween.
No.
I mean, what a disaster.
It's worse than that, though, Brenda, because what the newsreader failed to mention was that we might not have any fireworks on Guy Fawkes night.
Hooray!
Huh?
Hooray!
Not a fan of fireworks, then?
No, I am, yeah.
Right.
And you won't be able to have a Christmas tree either.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
But on a more serious note, Brexit has not caused the catastrophe in all our government departments, the justice system, the Home Office, the Foreign Office, the NHS.
Yeah.
They're all crumbling like there's no time left to crumble. They are on their knees. And the police.
It's almost as though if you elect a clown, you get a circus.
Here we go. Okay.
Nick,
Who could have predicted that?
Why has it taken so long to get the army out to deliver this fuel? I think it was all planned. The prices have gone up at the petrol pumps, so we're putting profit into the big petrol companies, and then you've got people saying, I agree that wage rises should go up, but because all these big corporations we're subsidising these big corporations by the low wages they pay, then they go on universal credit and they go on tax credits, so the taxpayer in the end pays for this. So the corporations, and I believe that this government wants to virtually crucify the economy, all small businesses, and the corporations will just rule the roost. That's how I see it.
Yeah, under this scenario, then all small businesses will become economically unviable, and large multinational corporations will just sweep in, pick up the lot of them for a song, and we'll be left with like 3 companies that make everything.
But we're going to be run by these big corporations, these oligarchs, these bankers, all the rich. We're going to be controlled by these huge global corporations. It's evident, and I just think this government is hell-bent on bringing this economy back down again. I mean, the fuel disaster was like a lockdown. Virtually, people didn't get to work. Teachers, nurses, hospitality, care workers. It was almost like a semi-lockdown. And I just think it's all been planned because it's preparing us for another lockdown. And how is it that for the last 3 weeks we've heard nothing about COVID? The infection rates have been up in the 36,000. I think there's 32,000 today.
Well,
but we've heard absolutely nothing.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily a government plot. I think it's more that the news cycle has moved on a bit. There's nothing really major to report at the moment. So we're just, the news, that new is the most important part of the word news.
Well, like pigs in blankets.
Yeah, I guess so. Then we'll concentrate on that now. Yeah. All right. I got to go. Thanks a lot, Brenda. 0345 6060 973. If the government was actually bent on destroying the country, then they couldn't be doing a better job. I mean, that's like the conspiracy theorists' point of view. That what they're actually doing is stripping this nation for parts. I mean, we'll wake up one day and this whole country will be up on bricks and our wheels will be gone. If they do plan to bring this country to its knees for whatever reason, I would, and the only reason I can think under this scenario is that donors to the regime have bet against the economy. Now, that's not too far-fetched because they've done that before. Some of the people that egged us on to vote for Brexit bet that Brexit would be ruinous for the economy. And they made hundreds of millions of pounds. Which to me seems like traitorous behaviour, but that's just my viewpoint. Rather than going to the House of Lords, as these people will undoubtedly do, they should actually be in prison. But it's going so well that you think it can't possibly be the plan. If they were planning to bring this nation to its knees, then they're doing fabulously well. I just don't think that they've got it in them. So it has to be cock up. Either they're really hiding their genius excellently well under a cloak of clownish oafiness.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Is oafishness would probably be a better way of putting it. Clownish oafishness. Either they are actually geniuses and this dipstick act is just that, a routine. I just don't buy it. I just don't think they're that clever. It's like people say, oh, 9/11, yeah, that was an inside job. Really? George W. Bush planned that? If George W. Bush had planned 9/11, those planes would have missed.
Absolutely.
So I just don't believe that it's a conspiracy. Because I just don't believe that these people are that smart, that they could execute a plan so brilliantly. So it just must be just bumbling along, just from like a pinball, careening from one disaster to the next, unable to know what to do, or where to go, or what to say. If they are evil geniuses, criminal masterminds, and their plan is to dismantle this country and sell it off for parts, then I tip my hat, because they're doing fantastically well. But I just don't believe that they're that smart to execute a plan so brilliantly. So we're back with stupid. I'm not sure if that's better. Is it better?
No.
No, not really, no. Len texts, Kelly Jones from Stereophonics, clear diction, maybe a little American. I know the name, but I couldn't tell you any of the songs that they do. Sounds like one of those modern-day Glastonbury bands.
Boring!
Yeah, not interested. Jack texts, if the booze runs out, there'll be riots. Imagine living in Brexit Britain without the aid of alcohol.
Booze.
Yeah, I can't. Boy, that's when it'll really hit home. Like you arrive at Christmas and, we managed to secure the last turkey in the shop and, we got some stuffing and we'll make our gravy from scratch. And I've got some roasties, but we've got no booze. What? Can you imagine? Dave texts, Boris is sorting climate change by returning Britain to the Stone Age. I have my Paleolithic fire-making kit to hand, says Dave. Stefan texts, Nick, would it be possible for Tony Blair to become Prime Minister again? I mean, is there any law prohibiting that? Well, let's put it to the people. Tony Blair for Prime Minister? No! It's a no from them. And Connie tweets, Nick, the only thing that gets me through life in America is British politics. Thanks, Connie. I mean, America used to be the laughing stock of the world.
I'm president. Can you believe it?
But now we got people filling up plastic bags of petrol and pulling knives on each other on the forecourt. I think we are now the dingling capital of the world. Let's have a call in Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
No, Nick. A couple of bits and pieces. People have been talking about jobs and people doing jobs and things. When you get into brutalist economy, there's two things that make people take jobs. One is incentivization, so giving them loads of money. The other is starving them into doing it. And Priti Patel and this lot will end up doing that at the end of the day, because you can offer huge amounts of money to do a job, but if people don't want to do it, they won't do it. At the end of the day,
right.
If people are starving, they will take the job up. The other thing that I always wanted to talk about was Boris Johnson and reality, because there's a huge contrast, because we started off with Brexit and saying, it'll all be okay, it'll all be great, Northern Ireland won't be a problem.
Yeah.
Which wasn't reality.
There'll be no checks from NI to GB or GB to NI.
Absolutely.
No Prime Minister will put a barrier down the Irish Sea, he said.
Absolutely. So then we get to the reality of COVID. So he's going into hospital, shaking people's hands, thinking it's flu plus, and then he imposes lockdown and says it'll all be over in 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Which bit of reality does that relate to? And then skipping a load of other things, because I know now I've only got a few seconds on time. Skip that, and we get to the fuel crisis. And then he thinks that when fuel is potentially short, people won't buy it up. Reality is people will buy it up. So it's not connected with reality.
The problem go on.
This guy is working on Eton reality, privileged reality, not actual real-time, normal people reality.
Well, he's never lived a normal... He's never walked a mile in a normal person's shoes. He was born into enormous privilege and has remained in that position his entire life, and has been getting away with it his entire life. I mean, he's admitted just to that. His act has meant that he's been able to get away with any kind of behaviour that he wants to exhibit at any given time, and he's just been getting away with it because he just does that that routine of his, and people think, oh, he's doing his best. Oh my God, how many times have I heard that phrase? It's excruciating.
Go back to last Christmas. We were all going to have a normal Christmas, which wasn't real, but then he had to come back, and then gets into January, all the kids went back to school because he thought, that's great, we'll do it. Wasn't reality, he had to cancel it, and now we come up to this Christmas. Well, eventually reality and Boris Johnson have to actually catch up with each other.
Right, collide.
When it'll be, I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath, Mike. He seems to be one of those people that would just continue to get away with it. You know, like a certain peach powder puff president. That guy. They are two peas in a pod. All right, thanks a lot, Mike. 0345 6060 973. I do have detailed files about your Christmas delivery slots, but you're not going to like it. This says, hi Nick, David Bowie always sang with an English accent. Also, some people are super tasters. So Brussels and broccoli, etc. tastes much more bitter, thus some people are not keen. Did you hear about Nigel Farage having his van dented when failing to fill up at the pumps after visiting several fuel stations? That's karma, says that anonymous poster. Yeah, I did. I did, yeah. And I take no pleasure in that. Or in playing this.
We've got a few idiots in our party.
Zero pleasure in playing that. Or, in fact, this.
I'm immensely grateful to you for everything you've done in British politics over the last few years. I used to be an ardent Remainer. I voted Remain. I believed in the European project. I believed that staying in the European Union was the best thing for us. And then something happened, and something monumental happened. It completely changed my opinion on the whole situation.
What was that monumental thing, Mark?
I was kicked in the head by a horse.
Right, very good. Okay, fine. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I wonder if I'll ever get tired of playing that.
No.
I expect not. D tweets, if the firefighters start driving fuel trucks, who will drive the fire truck? Yes, I had that exact same thought. I bet you had too. There'll be a gap in the market. If a petrol station goes on fire, then the fireman who's driven the fuel truck to feed that flame won't be available to drive the fire truck to put it out again. Small problem, huge. This text says, Prince Charles says Boris is doing his best. Anyway, there's a shortage of clowns in Northern Ireland. Prince Charles did not say Boris is doing his best, did he? I refuse to believe that Chaz said that Bodger is doing his best. I don't believe you. Let's have Surrey. Guildford, in fact. Hello, Peter.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, I was wondering, you know all those working class voters that decided to vote for Bodger the Clown?
Mm-hmm.
Now they've seen, you know, where they wanted to stop the kids getting the equivalent of school meals during COVID, and it took a footballer, Marcus Rashford, to fight for them. And now they've seen the national insurance increase, and now the cuts to universal credit. I was wondering, do you think that at the next election they will give him an even bigger majority?
Yes,
Boris?
I think they probably will, yeah. They'll double down.
Especially at a time when we seem to have a Labour Party that seems to have an open goal ready for them, and Sir Keir the Radical has decided to attack the left of his own party rather than address the problems that the country faces. It just seems mad to me.
Well, it seems like the left are fighting the right wing of the left wing party, and the right wing of the left wing party is fighting the left wing of the left wing party.
That's right.
And they just can't get along. It's not even as bad as it being an open goal. The Conservatives have been awarded a penalty by the opposition, who then fight the goalie to the ground while Bodger just dribbles the ball in.
Yeah, that's true. But it just seems we've got a terrible government. I mean, when you look at him, Nick, you know, he looks like a clown. He's got no idea what he's doing, and the rest of them haven't.
It seems that his act, his paper-thin act, is actually all that there is. There doesn't seem to be anything else.
My worry is, with an opposition that's really offering nothing but war against its own side, my worry is that the Tories will do what they always do. They will change the leader to so-called Dishy Rishi or someone like that, and the public will say, oh, look, there's a new government.
Yeah.
And they'll vote for him again and again and again and again, you know?
The new government will say that vote for us to fix all of the problems that have been caused by us over the last 11 years.
When you look at it, Nick, all these crises that we've got, we've had the COVID and Brexit and so on. But when you think, say, of the police and things like that, and the nurses and all that sort of thing, shortage of this and shortage of that, these things were set in train years ago when they were cutting the police force. They were cutting the amount of nurses there were. And what we're getting now, we're reaping the so-called rewards of the cuts that they carried out years ago.
Here's a short list of Tory cuts since they came to power about 11 years ago. 30,000 gone from the Army, 5,000 gone from the Navy, 5,000 gone from the RAF, 2,000 gone from Royal Marines, 60,000 gone from the NHS, 21,000 police gone.
That's awful.
10,000 prison officers short, 7,000 PCSOs, 730,000 from the public sector, and 12,000 firemen. But apart from that...
it just seems to me there are some people in the working classes, even in the working classes, that, will be pleased.
They love punishment.
It's
a masochistic streak.
That their neighbour down the road on universal credit is going to get their benefit cut. They jump with delight for that, And what gets me about these people that carry out the cuts, they are your money men. Now, if the left of the, which I'm left-wing, if the left of the Labour Party said, well, we're going to tax them a bit more, the wealthy, they'd kick and scream and act like a spoilt child. Yet it's so easy for them to take £20 off of somebody who is desperate.
Because they can't understand what desperate actually means. They've never met desperate. They've never been in the same postcode as desperate. £20 to your average Tory MP is the price of a bottle of wine that they'd pick up in Waitrose. It just means nothing to them. They can't contemplate the situation in which it would be a serious loss of income. It's because they've never been there. They've got no understanding of somebody's circumstance in which that would be true. Peter, got to go, but thanks. Kathy texts, Nick, on the subject of Brussels sprouts, have you ever considered steaming and then mashing them with butter and freshly ground pepper? Thank me later. No, you can thank me now, says Kathy. I most certainly will do nothing of the sort, Kathy, but you did have me at butter. I like Brussels sprouts, or as we must call them now, freedom sprouts. Let's have a call in Windsor. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
I'm great, mate.
So I was just having a giggle about your freedom sprout.
Yes.
Well, that was highly amusing.
Patriotic freedom sprouts are the only thing that will be acceptable on your dinner plate this Christmas. Of course, they'll probably be the only thing on your dinner plate this Christmas. Everything else having run out. We ain't got no stock. So no gravy.
Right, have you finished with the flag waving?
Yes.
Okay, so you've probably heard of this, you're probably well aware of it, but there's rumours saying that the fuel shortage is due to because they wanted to sell off the surplus fuel that they bought in lockdown.
The surplus what?
The surplus fuel that they bought in lockdown.
Who bought it?
Whoever bought it. The government. This what was claimed was the government orchestrated the fuel panic to sell off soon-to-expire fuel stocks built up during the pandemic. And then this is fullfact.org said there was no evidence of this. There wasn't a build-up of fuel stocks during the pandemic,
right, and
supply failed to meet reduced demand. But who can believe these full fact sites these days?
Well,
when
I would believe the full fact site. I think they probably, given the range of alternatives, I'd believe them rather than just believe what some bloke on Facebook wrote. I also think
it kind of makes sense, though, doesn't it?
Well,
surely?
But listen, think about it like this: if that was their plan, then it's gone fantastically well. Do you
well,
think...
that doesn't happen in this country, does it? So.
Exactly. That's my point. Do you think that this government is capable of enacting anything this complicated to go this well?
No.
No. So it must be a screw-up.
I just wanted your opinion on it, that was all. But
that's my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Great. Have a great weekend.
All right,
Nick.
thanks a lot, Michelle. 0345 6060 973. I just keep coming back to that. I mean, it's very easy to concoct conspiracy theories about much of what's going on at the moment because it's just everything's just so bizarre. I mean, it's like we're living in just like some alternate universe, and so it's really easy to come up with some more logical explanation as to why everything is so blooming weird at the moment. And partly people will say, oh, well, it's because the government have this secret plan to undermine the country and whatever and so on. Excuse me. And I just keep coming back to, well, if that was their plan, then it's working fantastically well. So it can't be their plan. So, I mean, this government couldn't run a bath.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
So they're not engineering this for their own benefit. I mean, it might be working out to their benefit in some way or another. I don't dispute that. But it's being gifted to them rather than them engineering it as a result. 0345 6060 973. I do want to talk about Christmas delivery slots because there's big news about that. But first, I must talk to this bloke in Woking. Hello, Jeff.
Oh, good morning, Nick.
Jeff.
Nick, I used to be a van driver. I'm retired now, but I used to be a van driver, just ordinary deliveries in a small van, which required an ordinary driving license, car license.
Yeah.
And for insurance purposes, I think you can see where I'm getting to. For insurance purposes, the company required you to have a driving license for 2 years experience of driving.
Right.
Now, if you're driving an HGV vehicle, a lorry with fuel, I don't think you can pass your test today and start driving it tomorrow. I think for insurance purposes, they will insist that you have at least 2 or maybe 3 years driving experience before you get behind the wheel of one of those vehicles.
Yeah, being as how you were driving a bomb.
Exactly. Now, I mean, if the government think they can just get somebody in from the armed forces or from Civvy Street that hasn't had a driving license for those type of vehicles for less than 2 years and just jump straight in, I think there's going to be a bit of confusion there, a bit of a mistake.
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? Yes.
In other words, Nick, if you wanted to drive one of these big lorries, and you went out and took your test tomorrow and paid all the fees and all the certificates and all the rest of it, and then the extra one for carrying the toxic fumes and everything, you couldn't do it straight away. You'd have to wait 2 or 3 years and get the experience before you could drive one of those vehicles.
I wonder if those tankers
yes.
ever run out of fuel, or can they fill themselves up from what they're carrying?
No, they have to go on queue with it like everybody else.
Do they?
Nick, a great show as always.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. Well, that seems to be a fault in the system, doesn't it? I mean, they should be able to refuel themselves while they're moving. Why do they even have to stop? All they need is a pipe going from the tanker part to their own engine tank. I mean, why can't they figure that out? What, by the way, I've wondered this for so long, and I've never seen an explanation of it. You know those tankers, at the back of them, they've got like dotted line, as though to say, cut here. Do you know what I mean? Like right at the back of the tanker, that they'll always have a dotted line. Now, is that actually a cut here instruction under? I can't imagine what circumstance you would want to cut into a tanker full of petrol, or what kind of implement you'd use to do it. But if not a cut here sign, well, what is it? What's it for? Why do they always have a dotted line around the back of their tankers? Explain me that, I double dare you. Robert texts, now that we have red, amber and green fuel graph, with London and the South East in red, mainland Britain in amber and Northern Ireland in green, can people travel from red to amber or green zones without having to isolate or quarantine in search of fuel? Daniel says, Nick, the country is falling apart at the seams, but Boris is doing his best. Which I don't dispute, actually. But if this is actually him doing his best, then we really are screwed.
Here we go. Okay.
Paul texts, can't the Brexit pixies drive the lorries? No, Paul. The Brexit pixies are on Brexit unicorns gambling about sunlit uplands. Keep up. Kath texts, Nick, Christmas will not be ruined. I don't care if I have to have pizza and chips for Christmas dinner and a Mars bar for pudding. As long as you're on the radio doing the A to Z of 2021, it'll be a good one. Well, thanks a lot, Kath. I'm going to have pizza at Christmas. Always have pizza at Christmas.
Affirmative.
I can't wait. Pizza. Just as long as there aren't any problems with, getting cheese of all varieties and prawns and peppers and, what else? Tomatoes, flour. Ooh, so yummy. Nikki texts, it will be no bad thing if Christmas is cancelled. We have become far too much of a consumerist society. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Boring.
Not one of those people, are you, Nikki? No, it's not what Jesus would want on his birthday. Anyway, she says, she or he, sexist, says we've become far too much of a consumerist society, and that pays into the whole global warming thing. You yourself have said many times, people will spend money they haven't got on stuff they don't need. Go back to the old days and just put a few satsumas in a pillowcase. Yeah, try that with the kids these days and see what you get. Satsumas? Fruit? The only fruit they want is an apple. Not that kind of apple. Anyway, you don't put satsumas in a pillowcase. They would get lost in there. You put them in a stocking, surely. With, chocolate money. So yummy. And difficult to extricate from its little foil case. This says, I'm driving home after finishing watching James Bond. My tiny, slow car suddenly feels like an Aston Martin. Yeah, but 'tisn't. Isn't that weird? You go see something like a James Bond or a Mission Impossible, something like that, and you come out thinking that you are that person. I mean, not obviously, not like genuinely, obviously. I mean, you don't go in in possession of your faculties and come out deranged. I mean, I don't come out thinking I am James Bond, but a little bit of it washes off onto you, doesn't it? It's weird, that. You come out thinking, if anybody attacks me now, I could take him out with one light chop of the side of my hand. Easy. John emails, actually cold tea is great. My wife makes loads. Would you like the recipe? What are you talking about? Cold tea? When was I discussing cold tea? Chris texts, I just bought 432 litres of diesel. No queues, no waiting. Well, how'd you do that then? You can't just tell us that, Chris. How did you do it? What are the circumstances surrounding that purchase? I need to know. Jesus, Hillingdon.
Yes, hello, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Good night.
What?
Your rants about Brexit catastrophe are epic, and I want to contribute a little bit from me because I'm the amazing thinker. So I thought about so-called, let's call it, because the name perhaps should be different, but second wave of back migration from Britain to European Union, because many thousands of European citizens who work here in those key areas like care homes, butchers, builders, and so on, and even drivers perhaps, are still here, and they applied for this EU settlement scheme. But if European Union citizens, the Polish, the Lithuanians, the Romanians, will see what a mess Britain actually is, and it's not worth staying in Britain, further 10% or 20% might consider migrating back to European Union countries because there is also demand for workforce drivers, butchers in Netherlands, Germany, whatever, France.
Yeah.
They will get similar money, but without those shortages. They will be able to enjoy Christmas and so on.
That's right. They'll be able to go home. They'll be able to do multiple jobs all over Europe. Cabotage, that's what it's called.
Yes. And that might be, the problem might be compounded by the second wave of return to Europe by European citizens, because they have, let's say, dual citizenship.
Yeah.
Some of them applied for British citizenship.
Right.
Some just have leave to stay.
And as this country starts falling apart, they'll think, well, Poland doesn't sound so bad, actually. Yeah, exactly.
Many people migrated from Poland and former communist bloc because the perception was that England is a country of wealth.
Well, when they did, when the first, not remotely interested in anything I'm saying, but when the first wave, if you want to put it like that, happened, that's because Poland and places in and around there were, economically on shaky ground. But the economy there has improved markedly recently.
Yes.
And so it's much more of an attractive prospect to live in Poland and less so to come here.
Actually, I listened to some comments by the political commentator in Poland, and he said that Poland has never had this good ever in history of Polish nation, because there were no wars, no threat of war. Now there are some problems on the eastern border, but a long time without war and prosperous growth of economy. Also, money that was brought by the workers from the Western countries, Western European countries, among them Britain. But now Poland, Poland is now as much prosperous and developed as Portugal. So there is really no desperation for the Eastern or Central European countries to stay in Britain.
Stay here, yes, particularly as we've been yelling at them to go back to where they come from. Yeah, so there is that. There is this sort of air of being unwelcome. I think you're absolutely right. And what was I going to say? I had a very important point that's just completely escaped my mind. It's the devaluation of the pound in comparison to the European euro is also a massive factor, because people used to come here from less well-off countries to send money home because the pound used to be worth much more. But now, since this nation shot itself in the foot, the pound has been devalued, so it's worth much less to send back to their countries. So there's that too. Yeah, so I think Jesus is right in that we ain't seen nothing yet. I mean, there's this initial stream out of the country. But I'm sure a lot of people thought, well, we'll stick around because we've made a life here, and a recollection of what it used to be like back home. It ain't that great. But the news will filter through that actually it's probably much better than it is here. At least you won't get yelled at by people in the street saying that you should go back to where you came from. At least you won't get that. Thanks, Jesus. Appreciate it. You know, I haven't got time to do this Christmas delivery slots thing, but we do have about 3 months, so I'll do it tonight. I hope that you have your Christmas delivery slot booked already. You don't? Tony texts, Nick, I'm a trucker and I had my letter this week thanking me for doing a great job. Signed by the Baroness of Norbiton. Really tapping into the UK workforce, says Tony. The Baroness of Norbiton. Olivia says, the turkey I bought last year to feed 8 is still in my freezer, and it's dated December 2022. The same with the ham. You can't keep meat that long, can you? She says, tomorrow I'm going to panic buy a packet of chipolatas. I won't. Shall I tell them how she spelt chipolatas?
No.
Oh, all right then. She says, tomorrow I'm going to panic buy a packet of chipolatas. It's actually phonetically accurate. Chipolatas. That's how she spelt it. And a packet of streaky bacon to make my own pigs in blankets. I'll stick them in the freezer, says Olivia. And if this Christmas is cancelled, I'll be okay for the following year. I am amazed that you can keep a turkey and a ham in the freezer for a year. Are you sure about that? I thought it was like 3 months tops. But what do I know? I'm like smug.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
Mick tweets, be grateful some English singers sing in an American way. Could you imagine Ozzy Osbourne singing in his natural accent? Yes. Could you imagine that, Oz?
No.
No. Dell texts, I'm a London cabbie. I started my shift at 6 p.m. yesterday evening, had just under half a tank of diesel in the cab, so I carried on working. I drove past all the petrol stations as my taxi fares went on, and the pumps were all dry. Eventually I had a fare to Chiswick, where I saw the tanker leaving the petrol station at Chiswick Roundabout. This was 2 a.m. Absolutely crazy. I was literally running on fumes, says Dell. You know, I bet those cab drivers who are early adopters of electric vehicles are feeling so smug. I like that. I mean, I haven't got enough money to travel in one, but I do like them when they take off from the side of the road in complete silence. And no fuel, disgusting clouds of smoke coming out the back. There is that. Hillary says, please stop saying that old people caused Brexit. Some old people did. My husband and I are old, but we are fiercely European, says Hillary. I hate what a particular type of old person has helped to do to us, but it is certainly not any of our circle of old people that are responsible, says Hillary, who seems to be protesting too much. Guilty! And on that subject, I am 67, says this one, and do not vote in elections because no party can be bothered to campaign in my constituency. I did vote Remain because it was the one time that my vote counted. Oh my God. There's another one. Your vote always counts. Doesn't matter if people can be bothered to go and campaign in your constituency. What difference does it make? Just pick the least bad option. Just pick that. No excuses. Well, now, I've got loads of texts and emails. I guess I'll wipe them up tonight when I come back at 10 o'clock. I'll also tell you about Christmas delivery slots. We're panicking now. 3 months out. This is ridiculous. This whole country has jumped the shark.